Hey, what is going on, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a little bit of work on the Kayak, and we're actually going to be upgrading the fish finder on it. I will be installing this Scotty mount 141 transducer mount along with their matching fish finder mount. And before we get too far, I want to have you go down to the link below and check out the American Legacy Fishing Community Group. It is a fantastic Facebook group that will help answer any and all fishing related questions for you. If you are looking for, does this rod work better than this rod, or do I need this action or this power for this particular technique, that group is full of product experts as well as experienced fishermen to help you get the stuff that you need. So let's get to the install. First things first, let's check out what's in the box. Instructions, the lower portion of the transducer arm, the upper portion of the transducer arm, 2 plastic washers, knob for adjusting the transducer arm, short section of track, 2 bags of fasteners, Scotty mount, which also includes the top portion that the fish finder will go into. So if all else fails, I will read the instructions, but we're going to try to see how far we can get on the Scotty mount. I've never used their stuff before, but it looks pretty cool, so let's see how it goes. So I have track already on this boat, and luckily I can play with the position later. I can just loosen this up and move it around as needed. We're just going to kind of stick it somewhere for now. We'll tighten this guy down. This is all pretty much pre-assembled. This gizmo here pops out. So this is a 367 mount. Has a pretty wide footprint, and it will mount to the bottom of this. Looks like it lines up pretty well. I'll have to find some fasteners for it. I don't know that I have any, or I don't know that it came with any. We'll find out. But it does push in here and locks, which is nice. So if you go overboard or something, it swivels. You're able to unlock it, get your stuff out, get it out of the way. We'll turn it so it's out of the way. Let's see, what do we think next? We have a couple of arms that are included in this deal. The reason I bought the Scotty mount was if you hole mount it, which is an option, you don't really get side imaging. And obviously I want side imaging because it's not able to really shoot that beam through the side of the hull. So you need to have it exposed somewhere. You can stern mount it, or you can run a flexible stick off the side of it. I went with this because it's off the shelf, which is nice. B, it's pretty much going to be ready to go here, hopefully pretty soon. So we've got some washers. All right, I'm gonna look at the instructions. I give up. So, looking at this upside down, the washers go back to back. Doesn't say anything about color, but it looks like one side here goes in there, one side there goes in there. Okay, I like that. And I have a knob, and the nylock nut is already in there. So we're gonna line that up and throw this in. It would be better if I could flip that, because I can't really reach this knob sitting here, right? So it's a little bit backwards from there. I don't think I can flip it. No, there's no way to capture that nut, so I'm gonna have to deal with that. So it's not ideal that I can't flip the knob. I'm over it. But these 2 friction plastic washers, Teflon washers, whatever they are, make it still pretty easy to move. So I shouldn't have to take it loose a whole lot. The other thing I'm looking at is when I transport it, I would like the transducer not just hanging out here in space. So I am able to rotate this guy and maybe kind of strap it down the kayak so it's not just slopping around while I drive. So far so good. And it's kind of the stuff that you get when you don't DIY it, right? When you DIY something, you kind of make it to do one thing unless you get really extravagant. Well, this is looking pretty good. All right, so next up, we have this guy with a square nut, knob thing, and a hex bolt. All right, there we go. So here's the knob thing with the hex bolt, stainless bolt going through it, and a square nut. And the square nut's probably going to slide in here, and it goes through this top hole here. So let's do that. Top hole here and through the slot. And what it looks like, give you some adjustability. And it looks like you are going to adjust it. And then there's another fixed hole here I can't really show you that you lock it in. So once you get your adjustment, you put in the second one and it's going to hold it. It holds it pretty well with just the one. But let's go ahead and put this other one in here. Sorry if you hear my kids. It's 70 degrees outside and beautiful here in North Texas. They're out playing. All right, next up. We got this other one here, another square nut. Slide that in there. Bam. You're off and running. And now that locks out your adjustment. So if this guy comes loose, you're not going to lose all your gear. You got double reinforcement there. Next up is this gizmo. This is actually what's going to hold the transducer. Yet another knob deal. Hex nut, hex bolt. And this one actually gets a 1/4 It goes in from the other side. So there is some knurling here on this. You probably want to line it up with the knurling here so that you get that notch fit. So it doesn't want to walk around on you. And you do want to push this nut in there first, which is nice. So far, no tools. It's unfortunate. I do like using tools. All right. So this is good. I don't know why that's there. What is this thing called? So that is called a low profile, no. That is adjustable head. So this guy gives me this adjustment here from a side view, right? So if this is down in the water, it lets me do this with the transducer, which is good because you want level, especially with side imaging, so that it's not looking kittywampus. So that fits over the side well. You would adjust this for some parallelism to the water somewhat. We'll lock that down, act like we know what we're doing, and bring it back up so you can see it. Hopefully you guys can see that. Probably not. But here's kind of, let me move this. Here's what we're looking at. So this is how it goes on the track. We got the mount clipped in here. We have the two washers back to back with the knob on this backside. Here's what I'm talking about with the adjustment. So you get to adjust it on this slot, and as soon as you put this guy in there, you're going to lock it in because this is actually fixed to this part here. This hole is not slotted, and so you lock it in there. So once you set this dimension, you can lock it. Then you have this guy here with another knob, and that's going to set your parallelism. Right, so we get this coming off square, and then you want this guy, you want the transducer to be parallel to the surface of the water, so that's when you get your adjustment here a little bit, and you can lock that in there with that knob. All right, so far so good. Haven't torn anything up yet. Haven't even used any tools yet. That's a win. So this could be fun. Don't know that this came with any hardware. Luckily, there's a giant bolt in right there, and we will figure it out. So this is the other pack of fasteners. This is just for the truck, so you don't need that today. I'll put that aside. And I'm looking through my transducer hardware. I think I do have a fastener for that. Aha! I think this will probably work. This is the fastener for the transducer. We will put this guy on here. And I may not finish this whole install today. May have to follow the part 2. But we're going to act like we're going to finish. And I think I want that transducer on this side of the bracket to give it a little bit of support and not hang out off the boat as far. Alright, so apparently Garmin is one of the only companies left on the planet that still uses standard fasteners. And And so this transducer, maybe it'll save you a minute, is a 3/8. Not so we're gonna try this, like we know what we're doing here. And slow that up. All right, and I think we're in business. This is moving a lot. Let me show you this. Here's my gizmo. Here's what I have. And it's pretty wobbly at the moment. I don't know that's going to get a whole lot better once I really snug things down. The compliance isn't really here. It's a little bit in this guy. He's pretty tight. It is a lot of weight though. This is a rather large transducer. We're going to snug this down, make sure it's supported well at the yak itself. And then we've got our knob. He's pretty well locked down. I think it's just going to move that much. So this guy, as I paddle, is going to do this probably every time I row it. I don't really see a good way out of that. Luckily, it is probably a fairly decent plastic with some elasticity to it. But that is what I've got so far. I plan on running this, and I may not do an entire video on this part because this is really no fun. But that is going to be installed. Looking at the instructions, we have all things accounted for. The only things I have not used is this track because my kayak already has track on it. So we may end up doing some of that later. So that's what we have. So that's the Scotty mount that clips in here on the top. That's going to take my Garmin cradle, or I'm sure you can fit a Lowrance cradle or Humminbird or whatever you got. Quite a few bolt patterns there. You will need to figure out your transducer mounting, or you will need to figure out your transducer routing. So this guy comes with like 20 feet with a transducer cable. Something to keep in mind, I'll show it here on the screen, but this whole assembly here with all these bits is about 5 pounds. So if you think about that, this is going to be risky. If you think about that 5 pound weight hanging off one side of the boat, it's quite a bit. It's something to consider. You know, it's trying to reduce your roll stiffness in that direction. If you lean that way too far, it's definitely not helping you. So what I'm going to do is, this is actually quite a bit of copper. I'm going to put this in here, probably up here somewhere, put it through the hole, and then try and actually affix it over here to counter at least some of that weight. If I can counter 25% of that weight or 10% of that weight, that's better than nothing. So we're going to try for that. But so far, so good. So initial feedback there. Initial feedback on installing this thing. I mean, the only tool I've needed is for putting the transducer on there. I needed a nut and I needed a 3/8 wrench and a Phillips screwdriver. I mean, that's hard to beat there. All of this stuff is pretty well adjustable. I need to finish routing my transducer cable. I've seen some people bundle it up on the arm. I don't like that. It's already moving too much. I don't want to add any more drag to that at all. So we're not going to do that. I've seen people bundle it up behind the cradle here. Not a bad option. Like I mentioned, I'm going to try and put it in the hole and just like a command strip or something on the other side and try and put some of that weight over there, help distribute it a little bit better. I do have a bunch of these for my power cable. You can get these on Amazon. I'll put a link in there. This is what I plan on using. This is a weather tight, waterproof. It has a washer here. Obviously you have to drill a pretty large size hole and be able to get to the back side of it probably. And then as you tighten down your nut here, it will cinch around your cable. And that's a little bit more complicated on the transducer cable because it's giant. It's absolutely giant. I have found a way to back it in there and get, it's actually already on here. You see it's doubled up. So I'm going to put this in the body of the kayak. And since it's doubled up, I can just fish it through and have my one lead come out to the unit and the one lead go out to the transducer. So I have a fairly decent solution for that already. And that's going to take me a little bit of time to make sure I put it exactly where I want it so that the cable's not in the way, it's not looking too stupid. All right, we're done, more or less. So here's what I have. I have the battery up here in this cubby. I have multiple wires running. Two of them, this guy here is for the fish finder. This is the factory Garmin, and this is going to the other USB port that I put in. I was able to route all of them through just one grommet. If you're trying to copy what I did here, I ended up hogging out this bigger bulkhead. I put a slit in the nut, that's why it has a zip tie around it. So that slit lets me get around that transducer cable twice and still cinch it down. This is pretty much watertight, or very close to it. Dab of silicone or something to definitely fix that. We've got transducer, used electrical tape here versus zip ties. I definitely prefer electrical tape. It is not as hard on the transducer cable. In fact, Garmin will often void your warranty if you have a lot of abrasions or issues caused by zip ties, so I just go with electrical tape. It's also a little more streamlined. I will probably close up these slots from a hydrodynamic standpoint, just to cut on drag anywhere I can. Here's how it mates up to the back of the fish finder. Still have to find the nut for this guy. Should be in the mail here soon. We are booted up with the 93SV UHD with the GT54, which is live scope capable if I ever get crazy enough to put live scope on this thing. That would be fun. But it is ready to go. The other gizmo I put in here is this USB port. This is an Amazon deal. I put it, I'll put a link in the description, but it has a USB-C and a regular USB hookup, so I can charge my GoPro batteries, my cell phone, whatever. And it does have a button. A lot of these don't have a button, so if you leave your kayak unattended and you don't unhook it, it will be a constant draw, albeit a little bit small one, but I can turn the sucker all the way off, which is why I like the button one. And this is a physical button. Some of them are like a touch button. I didn't want that. Gives me a positive. I don't even have to look at it to know if it's on or off, so I like that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. I think we're ready to get out there and do a little fishing here soon. Go test it out. If you like what you see in the video, please give me a like to this one and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.